Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybrook Family Farm. So today I want to discuss with you guys a little bit of what we are doing to prepare our homestead for winter. And I know that might seem a bit extreme and a bit crazy to be talking about this in August, but guys, honestly, winter is going to come early this year. All of the animals are acting very strange lately. Like squirrels are acting as if it's about to get to be wintertime and stuff, with trying to gather things in mass quantities. A lot of different bushes and shrubs and smaller trees are actually starting to change colors for us. And a lot of the stuff in the woods is actually starting to die back, which is not normal for this time of year. For reference, I do live in Ohio, and normally our first frost date is like the first expected frost date type thing is normally about the second or third week of October. And guys, I highly doubt that we're going to get that far into it before we start having frost, because everything is changing. Everything is dying back. Like these ferns here, they are all like turning brown and starting to die off and change colors. And there's a lot of, which, you know, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but when you're someone like me that really super pays attention to everything that nature is doing and the signs that she's giving and the way that the wind changes and shifts and it just, everything feels differently, you realize that this is kind of like a big oh crap moment. We also have, which it's going to be near impossible to see on camera, but like over there is a tree that is starting to change colors. When you're driving around in our local area, a whole bunch of different maple trees are starting to turn colors. The cherry trees are all dropping their cherries early, and they're also dropping leaves early. So are the locust trees. So when you're paying attention and you're watching all this stuff happen and these things start shifting like this, and it's also only a high of like 69 today, and August is normally our hottest month of the year, it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of, you know, you'd be a fool to not be like, wait a second, this is weird, this is different. The last time that we had an August like this, it was actually about 7 years ago, and what had happened was, towards the end of August, we actually had to turn the heat on in our house. And then in September, we got this blazing hot heat wave a few weeks later to where it was like almost 90 out, and it was just sort of this like balancing act of, you know, it kind of reminds me of like in a cartoon when, you know, a bird or something like that, like on the Little Rescuers or something like that, you know, is coming in for a crash landing and they just sort of bounce, and then they just sort of skid down the rest of the way. That's what it feels like to me is happening in nature right now, of that we're having these little bits of it'll spike up in temperature, but then it drops right back down. It feels like we're basically just booty bouncing our way into wintertime, which is very concerning that it's this early and these changes are happening. The other things too that we've been noticing is the deer are starting to run a lot more. So they're a lot more active. There's a lot more movement going on. Tracy is seeing a lot more when she's on her way to work and stuff in the mornings, which, you know, granted we live rurally, deer are always out and about and stuff, but she said they're just behaving differently, you know, almost as if they're in a panic looking for extra food to get them fattened up for wintertime. Which when you see that happening, it's very alarming. You know, inside, you know, all of us, you know, we're really not that far from being animals if you listen to your instincts and your intuition and things of that nature. So when you see animals doing that and you naturally are kind of like in this weird nesting mode and this weird like hibernization type of thing where you're wanting to basically get your house in order, I'm telling you guys, you've got to listen to that, because when you're feeling something like that of maybe I should get a few extra blankets, maybe I shouldn't throw away these old sweatshirts because they work good for layering if I need to and stuff. You know, when you feel those little tugs of I should get extra socks or some boots, or this was on sale, or this was on clearance, I should get blankets. Or like last year, we went to Walmart at the end of it was actually in like the beginning of spring, and they had their snow shovels on marked down for $1 a piece. We knew it wasn't going to snow again and stuff, you know. It's not rocket science. When it's hot outside, it's not going to start snowing usually. You know, and we bought them, and people were like, why are you buying that? And I'm like, well, it's still going to be useful next year. Like, it's a snow shovel. It doesn't expire. It doesn't start rotting. It doesn't go bad and stuff, which is also kind of our approach this year to gathering firewood. It doesn't go bad as long as you keep it somewhat covered, which for us, things are kind of wonky for us in terms of where we're putting things, because where we normally store our firewood, we might have to move that entire shed. So that's kind of a big deal. So basically what we've been doing this year is just making piles in various different places and putting tarps over it to keep it dry, because we don't really have much of a choice besides doing that. You know, and we heat primarily with wood, so we need a lot of firewood. You know, last year was our first winter being in this property. It was our first winter actually ever heating our own home with wood. And we went through, I would say it was 3.5 to 4 cords of firewood, which, you know, because we got here last spring was when we first bought this place and stuff, we didn't have time to like fell a bunch of trees and let them season and all that stuff. So it was basically just scrounging around looking for any wood that was somewhat dry or that was already laying on the ground that we could use. So granted, not a lot of it was like in really good quality firewood, but it got us through. Basically by the skin of our teeth, we made it through. It was a good thing that we had a huge locust tree that was a dead standing locust tree. It was perfectly seasoned. When we had a big cold snap in January, actually, it led up to the cold snap. A big gust of wind came and took it down for us and stuff, and that's actually what got us through the wintertime, was that particular tree falling where it did, when it did, and how it did, and the fact that it was perfectly seasoned already. That was seriously a huge blessing. And I do apologize if you hear a lot of noise in the background. I tried to get away from the road, but there is somebody from the township is mowing along the ditches, so it's going to be loud. But yeah, things are definitely kind of in a crunch mode situation here, because also back in here in the woods back here, normally this is all super dense to where you can't see the ground with, you know, tons of ferns and things of that nature. But as you can see the ground in a lot of different places. So, you know, just like up further where I showed you that things were dying off, the same is happening back here. So it's, you know, might seem a little bit of an alarmist type of thing for me to be pointing this stuff out, but it's kind of how my brain works. I notice things before most people do, which is a blessing and a curse, because it does make me seem like a little bit of a wacko whenever, you know, years ahead of time I'm like, hey, something big is happening, you should watch this thing happening 4 years ago. But, you know, what do I know? I just pick up on things a little earlier than most people. So if you guys are feeling the crunch, if you're feeling pressured to, you know, make different winter preparations, man, sometimes I just make up random words, I suppose. But if you guys are feeling that crunch too, and that calling and that pulling inside to do things a little bit differently, to button things up a little bit more, to buy a little bit more stuff to get you through, definitely listen to that, because I think this winter is going to be one like we used to have and stuff. When I was a kid, I used to do a lot of sled riding and snowboarding and things of that nature, because it actually used to snow in Ohio. Now, like our youngest is 17 years old. He has no experience pretty much of playing in the snow, doing that sort of thing, because, well, now the snow does not stay on the ground like it used to. We might get snow and then the next day or a couple days later it's gone and stuff. So kids nowadays, they don't know what Ohio winters used to be like, but I remember, because I used to play in it all the time. Because winter, honestly, has always been my favorite season, so I'm kind of excited a little bit. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.